3 tips to create a great teacher exemplar, presented by KS Educational Consulting. What is a teacher exemplar? A teacher exemplar is the activity the teacher will model at the beginning of the lesson. This activity should replicate what students should be completing at the end of the lesson. Therefore, your teacher exemplar should be created carefully and keeping the following things in mind. Tip number 1. Create a success criteria. A success criteria will tell you and your students how to be successful in the lesson. Note that these are not steps or an order on how to complete the activities, but a rubric for you and your students to follow. You can see this example of a success criteria for the objective of explaining the main idea of the text. Students will be successful if they examine supporting details and state the explicit and implicit main idea of each section, if they mark supporting details that support the main idea of the selection, if they eliminate wrong answer choices, and if they state why the answers are wrong. Tip number 2. Use the success criteria to grade your own exemplar. This will make sure that you are showing your students how to be successful when modeling and thinking out loud your exemplar. As you can see in the example, I graded my exemplar following the success criteria presented before. Tip number 3. Check for misconceptions. More often than not, we can predict what students might struggle with in the lesson. So, when creating your exemplar, think about misconceptions the students might have and how will you address them in your exemplar. Bottom line is, your teacher exemplar should be what you want your students to turn in at the end of the lesson. The success criteria should get your students to be successful in the lesson. Check for misconceptions before the lesson so you are ready for most of your students' questions.